Hey there folks, it's Leo Alderpold. Thought I'd bring you a video from where I am at the moment. I'm spending Christmas, New Year and my birthday here in Minha Terra, Portugal. So at the moment I'm in Serra de Monchique, which is in the southern part of Portugal, in the north of the Algarve. I'm looking after a friend's farm at the moment, who's gone back to England to see family for Christmas. And I wanted to get the hell out of Britain, so what better place to come than Portugal, which I love. I've been coming here for probably 20 years or so now. I've lived here a lot, and I intend on moving back here. Oh, housekeeping, by the way, I'm afraid I'm smoking a cigarette again. No pipe today. I've been smoking far too many of these damn things recently. But yeah, while I was here in really what I consider to be my country, I thought I'd bring you a video. And I wanted to just show you a couple of things in particular. So hopefully you can see behind me, this is Serra de Monchique, as I say, the mountains in the area of Monchique. And you can see these forests just go on for miles and miles. As far as the eye can see, it's just beautiful, isn't it? Well, actually no, it's not. It's fucking horrible. Because these forests are not native forests. These are forests of Eucalyptus globulus, predominantly, which is a species that was introduced, well, quite a long time ago now, certainly before the 60s. And now the vast majority of the forests in this part of Portugal are of eucalyptus, and that is problematic in a huge number of ways, which I'll explain once I've relit my cigarette. So if I just turn around here, you'll see this tree right behind me. That's what we call here a sobreiro, which is the cork oak, Quercus suber. And that's the tree that your wine corks and things come from. Now, Portugal traditionally, certainly around 2005 when I was doing some research here, had, I think, around about 55% of the global market in cork. It's one of the major export products. And it's a native tree to this region, to all of you know, the Mediterranean, the North and South Mediterranean, the Iberian Peninsula. It's one of the native trees here. And one of the other native trees, which I can't see an example of here because we're in this eucalyptus nightmare, is the Azinheira, or the home oak, or the holly oak, Quercus ilex. Two very, very important tree species for Portugal, because obviously the Quercus suber, the sobreiro, that's cork, but the Azinheira, that's used, the acorns for that are used to fatten the porco iberico, the black pig, which is a particularly big thing in this region. Fantastic meat. But the eucalyptus plantations, as I say, they pretty much dominate now. And that's problematic for a number of reasons. The first of being, they're very water demanding. So in quite an arid country like Portugal, these guys just sap up all of the water that's available. The other thing that's a problem is they're what they call allilopaths, which means that they exude chemicals from their root systems, which prevent other things from growing. And one of the other major problems, and this is the really big one, is that eucalyptus, obviously they originate from Australia. And these guys are particularly adapted to fire, which means all of the bark that they shed, extremely flammable. It's got a lot of oils and resins in it. They just go up in the summertime in a dry country like this. They'd go up like a rocket. Now, the bark of the sobreiro behind me, the cork oak, that's also adapted to fire, because what happens with the cork oak is the bark is extremely bad at conducting heat, and it doesn't burn very well, so it protects the cambium layer inside the tree, which is the living part of the tree, and basically in the event of a fire it prevents the death of the tree. However, the eucalypt are far more adapted to fire, so they will burn, and a wildfire will go through here, and this part of Portugal has been devastated by fires, devastated by forest fires. Every single year without fail, massive fires sweep through these areas. The eucalyptus will carry on going, but the cork oak, they can't compete. What with the allelopathy of the trees, the eucalyptus trees themselves, and the fact that the fires are now so frequent with all of the detritus from the eucalyptus, these native trees, they just can't cope, they can't compete with it. So these are gradually, rapidly in fact, getting completely swamped out by the eucalypt. Now I came here I think the last time I was in this part of Portugal was about 2005. And I was in a place not too far from here, and a fire had swept through and just devastated an entire area the year before. But even after just 1 year, the eucalyptus trees, and a lot of their adaptation is in order to spread their seed. They like fire to open up the seed pods. They regenerate very quickly after fire. So the eucalyptus trees, even after a year, were at least 2 meters tall. Very fast growing, completely swamp out everything else, and none of the native trees, none of the native flora can survive underneath them. So this is a massive problem here in Portugal. And to make it worse, these trees are really rapidly growing. They're predominantly used for paper pulp or for wood pulp, fiber pulp. They're not really useful for anything else. They just give biomass, that's all. Where was I? Yeah, so these trees, they just grow up, they swamp everything else out, nothing else can compete. It devastates the local economy. And the law over here is that you can only grow them, as far as I'm aware, the law is you can only grow them for 3 cycles, so 3 rapidly growing cycles. And then, because of the fire risk, you've got to clear the land. Now the problem is, after 3 cycles, people clear the land, but then there's nothing on the land, so you get desertification. And one of the major problems that's facing this part of Portugal at the moment is exactly that. It's desertification, where we've had these huge forests of eucalypt. They've had 3 rotations. Perhaps they're not going to be planted again. Unfortunately, you can't see from up here, but on the farm where I'm staying, just behind, there are these huge swathes of hillside which are completely bare. Very friable soils, which means they'll wash away in the rain. And in the last couple of weeks here, we've had quite a lot of rain, so you have erosion as a problem. You've lost all of the nutrients from the soil. The land's been cleared, there's nothing covering and protecting that soil. The soils wash away. Desertification is the end result. And because of climate change and the introduction of these non-native species and the intensity of the forestry system that they're grown in, the end result is going to be gradual desertification of this part of Portugal, unless something is done. Now, I've met a few people over here in the past who speak highly of these forests of eucalypts, but I don't know, I've been a forester for over 20 years, and I like to think I know good forestry from bad forestry. And when the ecological damage of a forestry system like this is as bad as it is, there is no place for it as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, there you go. I thought while I'm here in Portugal I'd bring you a video, because I haven't done one for a while, and I figured I'd do something a little bit about my subject. But I'm at the moment currently looking into potential opportunities over here, working on rewilding. and reforestation, but with a native species. So after the land has been cleared, engaging with landowners, negotiating with landowners to start a rehabilitation, a land rehabilitation after, you know, these some of these areas of eucalypt have been cleared. But that's a work in progress. I hope, certainly, touch wood, I hope in a couple of years' time, when I can actually get down to move to Portugal properly, full time, then that's the sort of thing I'll be doing with the rest of my career. Because I love this country so much. The people are fantastic, the food's wonderful, the weather's amazing. You know, we're on the last day of 2019, December 31st. It's still quite early in the morning, it's getting warmed up, so got a jacket on for the minute, but in an hour or so it'll be too hot for that. And what I really want to do is come here and try and do some good in some of these areas that have just been devastated by this horrible monocultural crop of shite trees that have no place here. But there you go. So happy Christmas, although it's a little late for that. By the time I've uploaded this, the new year will already be underway. But I hope you have a great one, have a great party wherever you are. As Timber Drifter says, get outside, because it's a wonderful world out there. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm in one of the best parts of it right now. I love this place. Anyway, that's all from me for the minute. Ciao for now. Or as we say over here, até mais. Take it easy.